Welcome back, folks. You're watching us live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studio right here in Mumbai. You're watching Open Exchange and we're getting into a brand new day of trade. Looks like it's going to be a good opening after a holiday, so that's what the bulls would want. And plenty of stocks to focus on, given that there are so many updates that have come through from the financial space. So let's get straight to that. By the way, Yes Bank's Q4 update also flashing for you on the screen. Not too bad, really. Double-digit growth in advances. We'll try and get Abhishek to give us more details. But for now, the initial prima facie numbers don't look so bad. But let's get down to tracking other stocks as well. I wanted, Deven, your view on Bandhan Bank. It's been decent, the loan growth, almost 10% adjusted on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Any thoughts here? Retail deposits have also, the share of retail deposits have gone up for Bandhan Bank. If I remember correctly, this is not a bank that you are very fond of, but for investors, perhaps, what would the call be?
So, Sonia, I think I always believe that in a given situation when the technology is a dominant player in the lending business, and at the same time balance sheet size matters, even microcredit, I think funding, which has already started happening with some of the larger institutions. I believe for the long-term investment, the investors have to basically keep the portfolio with some of the larger franchises. I'm not a very firm believer of the companies which are into the small finance banking business. I believe that eventually they would probably get folded in the laps of some of the larger banks or the financial institutions. So maybe it is better to focus and build the portfolio with some of the larger banks where they have got the technologies, where they have got the balance sheet strength, and at the same time, they have the customer database where they can possibly reach out to them for the microcredit that is required.
Deven, one of the big movers on the downside on Monday was KPIT. There was that note from JP Morgan basically citing very high valuations. The stock went up 10 times from pre-COVID levels to the highs. Revenues went up 50%. I mean, quarterly revenues rate went up some 50-60%, but they're in a niche segment, relatively niche segment, and they've done very well. What's your view here, KPIT and any of the other tech names?
So, Prashant, I think it is in a similar situation as Tata Elxsi was at one point of time, wherein I think the valuation possibly, I think, were not justified, given the size of the growth that they are reporting. So, similar situation is happening with KPIT today. I think investors are putting in too much of emphasis on in the short term as far as the deliverables are concerned. Great businesses both for Tata Elxsi as well as for KPIT. However, I feel that the valuation has to remain a little moderated till the time I think you see the scale up happening. And scale up is gradually happening. We expect, I think, scale up to happen in the niche segment for this kind of companies somewhere in 24-25. And if I think the valuations remain higher and discount, I think, future well in advance, and possibly I think earning opportunity gets lost in this kind of a process. So maybe that's a correction that we'll have to experience in the market for those companies which run up ahead of time.
What about the city gas companies? That's the other space which cracked, right? On disappointment that the Kirit Parikh recommendations are not in effect yet. So MGL particularly took it hard, was down I think about 6-7%. Would you buy here, believing that eventually it'll get done? We spoke with Mr. Kirit Parikh on Monday morning. He said he's hopeful the cabinet will okay it. If not in April, maybe the next month. What's your sense?
So again, the Prashant, where the government is a prime decision maker for everything, I think those businesses are not great business for the investors. I would always prefer that I think where the clarity of decision making in the business I think stays only with the government and not with others. Probably I think that's where one needs to remain a little bit more watchful about. And this is one space where I have always been very about the prospects, because not the demand side situation is in trouble, not that I think the companies are having the efficiency related issues. It's a question of pricing, which at stroke of a pen I think that one is deciding, which is not fair proposition. So we keep away ourselves from this kind of businesses, rather concentrate on the consumption oriented businesses where you are having relatively better amount of clarity and the growth in the portfolios from those companies.
Okay, Deven, we appreciate your thoughts. Have a great week. Thanks a lot for joining in and speaking to CNBC TV18. That is the word coming in on the markets and